episode 21, 5-1 Stranger Things Theories. Hello and welcome to this...
You know what's extremely hard for you, Cade?
What?
For you to put your face in the microphone.
Okay, it's childish, get me no homegirl, drop it like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coke.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of 5-1. 5-1 is all about the countdown from our panel of experts on a different topic each week. Today, we are featuring the best Stranger Things theories in our style of counting down from 5 to 1. Every list we do is the best from 5 to 1.
No, I did the one that I think was going to happen.
Then those are your best theories. All right. Stranger Things was a huge Netflix hit in 2016 that had pretty much everyone I know talking about it on social media at some point after its release. Although only 8 episodes long, it proved successful enough to warrant a Season 2 renewal just about right away, which we can expect in the July-ish time frame. On the 5-1 live action show's episode, I believe all 3 of us had it as our number 1. Hershey, who was our special guest host for that episode, did not. So let's go back in time.
It's my number 2.
Let's go back in time. We all have the same one, and we'll leave Mom for last, but I'm going to play the song real quick here, if I can find it. Mom's rolling her eyes. She's the only one in the world that hasn't watched this show yet.
This show is awesome.
Obviously, it is Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Good job, Kate. You were right on cue. So, yeah, it was all of our number 1s, not your number 2. Nah, we can't go back and change lists. And just because you changed your mind today doesn't mean you won't change it again tomorrow. So
we'll see about that.
Yeah. My next question was, does it still hold the number 1 spot with each of you? We're going to skip Jet.
No.
Kate, is it still your number 1 TV show? Live
Obviously,
action?
I don't watch any other real TV shows.
That's what I said.
Besides the ones that periodically come on TV. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll watch this.
So it's still your number 1?
Yeah.
So, Dad, is it still your number 1?
For sure.
Not me.
Is there anything that comes close to it? Like Game of Thrones?
No, my
Game
number
of
2
Thrones
was
sucks.
Battlestar Galactica. My number 3 was, I think, Firefly. Number 4 was X-Files, and 5 was Lost. I think were my top 5. And they're all close. I mean, I just had Stranger Things number 1, and all of us have had a renewed interest in it lately because of Hershey, who we just spoke of. I finally convinced her to watch it, and that means I'm rewatching it, and that caused Jet to rewatch at least some of it.
But
and that so happened to align with your recent interest in Funko Pop collectibles.
And
they are releasing Stranger Things figures in April, so you've been excited about those as well.
Yeah.
It's you were very much wanting to do a Stranger Things episode because a week ago it was by far your favorite TV show.
But now it isn't.
And we talked a couple times about doing an episode, but we couldn't think of a good topic. So finally last week we decided fan theories would make a good show. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, what'd you change it to?
Let's not even talk about it.
What do you think, Cade?
Hosting duties today will be handled by the 3 of us. I am the Flea and the Acrisbat. And I am joined...
That does not make sense.
...by my 2 very strange sons. My 12-year-old, the weirdo on Cadle Street. And my...
Maple Cadle. I get it.
My 9-year-old, Mad Max, which happens to be the title of the first episode of Season 2.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming out in July-ish time frame. Obviously, all of these were titles of episodes, and mine was Season 1, Episode 5. Cade's was Season 1, Episode 2. And they're also, if you didn't know how Mad Max applies, Jet's, one of his nicknames is Max, based on your middle name, right?
Mm. Oh, yeah, Maxiform.
What?
His middle name.
Okay. Well, I couldn't find a good way to shoehorn Jet into any of those names, so I went with Mad Max. All right, so let's move on to the...
Pew, pew, pew,
Good.
pew.
Glenn Solomon fun fact of the week.
Pew, pew, pew,
Good.
pew.
and I guess we have two because Kate came up with one that him and Jet have both discussed in the past. So I'll do mine first, and then Kate, you can do yours. Netflix had a lot of huge successes with their original series releases, including critically acclaimed and fan favorite series like Orange is the New Black, Narcos, House of Cards, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. But Stranger Things actually outperformed all of those and is the second most successful of all the Netflix originals. Do you have any guesses what number one is?
Daredevil.
X-Files.
I just listed Daredevil as one of the ones that is behind Stranger Things. Lost and X-Files are not Netflix originals. Those came out before Netflix made their own TV shows.
So dumb.
Kate, you don't know that. You don't know that either.
Wait, what did I do?
Kate.
Netflix makes their own TV shows.
Okay, what's number one?
Fuller House.
Oh, get out of here.
Oh, it's so dumb.
I know.
I seen some of it because my cousin Camille was watching it, and oh my gosh, it looked terrible.
I watched the first episode because I was feeling nostalgic for Full House that I'd watched when I was your guys' age.
Was it good?
It was really
They're
bad.
trying too much to be the 80s, and it's not good.
Well, it was really bad. So I don't know if it continued or sustained success after that first episode, or if a lot of people just watched it like I did to see what it was about and then never watched it again. I don't know. But it got more views than Stranger Things did, which made it number one on the list. All right. So, okay, did you have...
My fun fact that I came up with...
No, you did not come up with it. I said it first, and then he ended it. Yeah.
Shh. Kate, please continue.
Is that in Stranger Things, 11 loves Eggos. Like in the movie, when she goes to the grocery store to steal... In the TV show, when she goes in the grocery store to steal food... She goes straight to the Eggos in the little freezer section. But in real life, when me and Jet were both getting
hates Eggos.
Really into...
Okay.
Can you not? Like?
I'm so glad you guys agreed to let Cade say that, and then Jet just finishes it right before you get to the end.
I'm going to smack you after this.
Oh, Jet, you're ridiculous.
Well, she hates Eggos in real life.
Yeah, thank you. We got that. All right, moving on. Feedback. So we got some feedback based on our last week's episode of Time Travel Destinations. The first one I'd like to read came on Facebook from new listener Kelly World. Do you guys know who Kelly is or remember who Kelly is?
No idea.
Sounds familiar.
We saw her recently at Dave & Buster's.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Evan's friend.
Evan's wife. Yes.
Friend who has 3 children.
Probably also friends, but yes, more appropriately described as Evan's wife. So she left us some comments on Facebook I'd like to read. First full episode for me, and I give it 2 thumbs up. Nice job, boys. A couple of comments and questions for what they're worth. Number 1, do you poop in 8 seconds? That's 24 minutes and 52 seconds faster than Evan. So what? Do you guys know what she's talking about?
No idea.
All right, let me rewind. This is probably the most fun I had in preparing
Making my list.
a list of any topic we've had so far, and I spent more time on this one than any topic we've had so far.
Same.
That is a lie. You made your list in like 8 seconds. I know because I was pooping while you did it. So that's what she's talking about, and she's not the only one that asked that question. So I thought I would clarify. No, I do not poop in 8 seconds.
You poop like in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I spend a long time because I'm on my phone or I'm reading, and
you read?
It's my alone time.
Sometimes I feel like I have to poop, but then I go in the toilet and I don't have to poop, and I'll just like fart a little bit, and then I'll sit on the toilet because it's comfortable.
Okay.
That's weird.
So
why don't you just sit on the couch?
The reason I listening back to that clip, I can understand why it's confusing. What I meant was I was taking a quick one that time because we were about to start recording, and I sat down, and before I had even done anything, Kate's like, I'm done. It literally took him like 8 seconds. I did not finish my poop in that amount of time, though. So I clarify there. Number 2, from Kelly, did Nick purposefully whisper call when Mel was sleeping to show how much more considerate of a husband he is than Dave? Okay, so you guys don't know what that means, but my college friends, we have a group text, and Dave, his wife, is a doctor, and we had a completely inappropriate question, And somebody said, "Hey, Dave, ask Lori," because Lori's a doctor. So Dave, it was the middle of the night. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And he woke up Lori and recorded him asking her this like super ridiculous and inappropriate question. And she was like, "What the F are you talking about?" And then he sent us the recording. Okay. So it was really funny. It was one of the best group text moments of all time. If we were to do a 5-to-1 on group text moments, it would probably be my number one. But yeah, so Kelly was referring to that moment when she said, was Nick trying to show how much more considerate he is than Dave, because he whispered because his wife was asleep. Either way, I think Nick's message was genius because it was super creepy, and it could have been on purpose to show up Dave, and it's memorable because he whispered. That's my opinion.
Interesting.
Okay. She also asked number 3, does every episode include Star Wars talk?
Of course.
I think every episode has
had his just about. I mean, we pretty much cover something Star Wars in every episode. And number 4 from Kelly, coincidentally, just today I was cleaning out some of Mia's school papers from the last couple of years and came across one where she revealed that if she could travel back in time, she would go to a time when Evan and I were little so she could play with us, which is like super sweet. And it made me think, why didn't you guys pick that? All you guys picked were like things where you get space guns and blow up everything.
Well, why didn't you pick that?
I said in my honorable mention that I considered going back to when you guys were born and rewatching it, but I'd already experienced it, so I didn't want to put it down. Now, I will say, I do remember you guys saying at one point that you wish I was your age so I could play with you all the time.
That was me. That was my number 1.
Not for time travel destinations.
Yeah, it was. My number 1 was time travel back into 1984, 1983. And just
you weren't thinking that.
Throughout. That was my number 1. In fact, I have it on my list right here.
Yeah, you never said about playing with me. You just said so you could live in the 80s.
Yeah, it's a 2-part music right here.
Yeah. Okay. So we also got some feedback from Nick Green, loyal listener. He had a few comments. He had the same question about pooping time, so I guess I confused a lot of people. The second was a correction of his. Kate, you had asked about that song "Summer of '69," and I said it was by John Mellencamp, and it's in fact not. It's by Bryan Adams. And this whole time, I thought Bryan Adams was only known for the Robin Hood song.
Everything I do
You guys recognize that song?
No idea.
Yeah, okay. I do.
Well, that's the only song I knew Bryan Adams sang, so I did not know that he was responsible for Summer of '69. So the more you know, learn something new every day, right?
Play the song Summer of '69 now.
I don't have that one queued up, and I'd have to open Spotify and close out of my app where I have all my sounds clips queued up, and I don't want to do that. You can sing it, though. Go ahead. Go for it.
I don't know the lyrics to it, though.
You know the Summer of '69. Do that part.
Summer of '69.
Good job. All right. And his last comment was that our time travel episode was very murdery.
Oh, yeah. Kind of was.
Yeah. Hey, Jet, pull your mic up closer.
Well, we had the rule we wouldn't ever be like,
I couldn't.
You had the rule, like, to where the mode, you could change yourself.
Yeah, I did, but that was my list. You guys had your own list.
So, we edit our list during the...
You do, because you only spend 8 seconds making them.
I spent longer this time.
All right, Casey King was the last bit, loyal listener also. He left us the feedback that this is a great episode. So thank you, Casey King. And the last bit of feedback. We are currently sitting at exactly 1,000 downloads.
Yay!
Cool.
So good job, us.
Well, that makes sense. You have like 1,000 Facebook friends.
I'm going to make a predator noise. I tried my best.
That, right? Yeah.
Whoa, look what that looks like on the...
Okay, are we ready to move on? I think we should play this before we get started.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Just because we will definitely be spoiling everything we know about Season 1. Now, Season 2, there are no spoilers because we're just speculating. We don't know anything yet.
Wait,
so they're just guesses.
Oh, Season 2, okay.
But Season 1 stuff, we will be spoiling. We'll be talking about it heavily. So if you haven't watched Stranger Things Season 1 and you want to, without being spoiled, pause this podcast, go watch 8 episodes and then come back and hit play on this podcast, and you'll be good to go.
But was this really necessary? There's like 1% of the population who hasn't seen Stranger Things.
Well, maybe that 1% is listening to this show. All right, let's move on. Cade, what is your
number 5?
My number 5 theory is that Elle was going to come back, and it's a pretty obvious one. I put it at number 5 because it's pretty, obvious.
I'm going to talk about that later.
But it's still a theory because we don't know.
Yeah, we don't. She just disappears, and we don't know where she is. But
it's not like she died.
We have reason to believe that she will be returning because, number one, she's still like interviewing with the other cast when they go and do things in the media, and 2, Hopper is seen leaving Eggos in this little bin with some other food. And that would lead one to believe that they were intended for Elle.
That stirred up like a lot of like, oh, okay, like
you
Elle's
don't know
back.
if she's alive just because of that, though.
Correct, but it leads you to believe that she probably is.
That's why I put it at my number 5 because it's like not like something to ponder about very much. Like, oh, she's gonna come back. That's a pretty obvious theory in my opinion. So.
Yeah, but it is a theory nonetheless. All right, Jet, what's your number 5?
I think there's going to be not just one, but more Demogorgons.
Okay, I kind of talk about that on one of mine here. Why do you think there's going to be more than one Demogorgon?
Because if you pay attention to one of the episodes, like Joyce and Hopper, they're like in the upside down. They're browsing in a flashlight, like they see an egg.
Yeah, you're right.
What is that?
And also like you see Barb and Will, but he survived. But they had like it looked like they were using their bodies to maybe
face suckers.
Yeah, to like incubate more Demogorgons, or who knows. So maybe that Demogorgon was the only one at the time, and now he or she or it is trying to make more of themselves.
Yeah.
And I actually have a theory about that, but I'm going to save it. Okay. My number 5 is that we will find out something about the other 10. At least the other 10. There could be more.
I'm sorry, guys. I forgot. But my number 4 is that there's going to be more than one. They're going to find more than one Demogorgon. So.
Okay, that's fine.
So I just forgot to mention that while we were talking about it.
So Elle is number 11. That's what her name is, 11. She's got a tattoo on her inner forearm that says 011 because she's the 11th something.
Why do you mean there's more 10? I don't get it.
Are you listening?
So she's like a test subject.
No, I didn't say there's more 10. I said we will find out something about the other 10, and there could be even more than that. 11 is named 11 because she's the 11th something.
Oh.
My guess is test subject for that MK Ultra program that they referred to in the season 1. She had that tattoo that read 011, and since it started with a 0, it indicates that they had intended to go to the hundreds. Otherwise, she just would have been 11, right?
Wow, that's pretty.
So there were at least 10 before her. There may be more after her. And who are the others? Is it possible that Hopper's daughter was a test subject?
So I doubt it. She's dead.
Could it have killed her?
No, she had cancer.
Could it have given her cancer?
No, that's dumb.
Probably not, but it's a possibility. I think that we will definitely find out more about the other 10. And I think Hopper, even if his daughter's not one of them, is going to be a huge part of that process. There's also an episode in season 2 that's titled The Lost Brother. We don't know what that means yet, but could that be that Elle had a twin brother and he was also a test subject?
I'm already making nicknames. Elle, so Elle's the first one for 11. Then there's 10.
I just thought.
And then 9. And then...
Or is the lost brother, could there be another Byers child? Like, does Will and Jonathan have another brother? Or is it Will isn't Will anymore and his lost self is the lost brother?
I don't want to know.
Or could it be some other crazy stuff that has to do with the other 10 subjects that we don't know anything about?
What was that? Yeah, how does Elle know Will?
She can see in the upside down.
Yeah, but how did she know when they first saw the picture?
That's a good question, and I have a theory, and I'll get to it later on my list.
Okay. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff you have to get to.
I do.
You said 3 you get to.
Yeah. Well, I like to think these things out. Cade, what's your
number 4? My bad. I didn't mean to do it that time.
But before you already said it, that there's going to find more than one.
So how many Demogorgons do you think they're going to be?
I think there'll be 3.
Like 6.
No, that's way too much. I think 3.
You're way too much.
All right, Jet, what do you have for your number 4?
I think, you know how Brenner, like, it looked like he was dead to me. So I think there's going to be like a new bad guy.
A new bad guy? I actually have that Brenner is still alive on my honorable mention list.
Who's Brenner?
He's the doctor, the head doctor, like the one that she called Papa.
Oh,
I don't think he's alive.
Well, because
it looked like
you know what it reminded me of is that when Barb got captured, came down from above, grabbed him, and she disappeared, and he disappeared. It didn't show the aftermath for him, but
it looks like he was getting eaten.
Maybe he got eaten. Maybe he got taken to the Upside Down, and there's no Demogorgon there to keep him because the Demogorgon L destroyed it or whatever.
And maybe L's in the Upside Down too, and maybe they meet.
But if he is gone, I do think there will be another bad guy, and I do think it will be somebody from the government, kind of like how
Hawkins.
he was. And it has to do a lot with my number 3. So Hawkins is just the name of the city that they live in.
What?
Yeah, but
they live in Hawkins,
they named
Indiana.
the city after somebody, and that somebody could be part of the government.
That's not true because they ride a van that's called
Hawkins Electric.
Oh.
Okay, my number 4. We are going to spend a lot more time in the Upside Down in season 2 than we did in season 1.
Yeah, that's true. Cause
maybe they'll lead like a war against the Demogorgons if there's a lot of them.
That's what I think too.
L will give them space guns.
I read somewhere online that the Duffer Brothers, the creators of the show, they have something like a 30-page manual on what the Upside Down is about, like maps and all sorts of information. And I think they created that with the intention of having us explore it during season 2.
I want a copy of that.
Yeah, in season 1, there's hardly like any. I mean, there's some of the Upside Down, but like you don't see it that much.
Well, what made it kind of scary was that it was mysterious. We didn't know a lot about it. And so they gave you little bits and pieces so that it was enough to like keep you aware of it and keep you intrigued by it, but not so much that you're like, oh, I get it. It's not that scary.
I think season 2 is not going to be as scary as season 1.
I heard it's going to be even more creepy.
How?
I don't know. I don't know how they're going to pull it off because, in my opinion, the Demogorgon was creepier when you barely saw him. And when you saw him a lot, he looked cool, but it wasn't as creepy anymore because I'd seen it. It was scarier when he was chasing Will and you only saw him for a split second.
Yeah, like in episode 8, he's not real scary.
Or 1.
Episode 1 is what I'm talking about when he's chasing Will and he's super scary, right? Because you see him for like a split second that makes Will crash the spike, and you see him for a split second out the window when Will's looking out the window to see if he's still there. Yeah. That was scary. He was less scary the more you saw him. So I don't know how they're going to do that in season 2 to keep it intriguing and scary, but we'll see. All right, Cade, what do you got for your
number 3?
My number 3 is like a theory for all of Stranger Things, not for coming up season 2. It's for back then. I feel like Elle gets stronger every time she gets weaker.
So when she uses her powers, it weakens her. But then when she recovers, she's stronger than she was before.
Because later in the show, she does like things that make her look a lot stronger.
Yeah, when she flipped the van over and when she fought the Demogorgon.
Yeah, like she seemed a lot stronger than she was before.
Yeah, but I feel like that only happened because they found more about that, and Elle kind of knows what to do.
It could be the same thing. You might be saying the same thing. Elle gets better the more she uses it because she's honing her skills, right? It's like practice, right? Practice? We talking about practice? So that's Allen Iverson, by the way.
Who?
Who's Iverson?
He was a basketball player. But yeah, so she... Yes.
Is it he?
Yes.
No one knows.
What team do you play for?
76ers and Georgetown in college.
Who's Georgetown?
Georgetown is a college.
Oh.
Let's move on.
Where's it located at?
Washington, D.C. So
how big is Washington, D.C.? Is it like...
It's pretty big. So I think you're right. I think she does get more powerful, but it's because she's honing her skills. But I don't think it's because it makes her weaker and then she gets stronger. Although it could be, because like when you work out, you tear up your muscles and you're weak.
That's how I thought of it. Like,
and
she
then
gets a
when
lot
they
weaker, and
rebuild,
then
they're stronger.
Than before.
But was the last act of killing the Demogorgon using her power so much that it killed her too? Well, or changed her in some way?
I think she's...
a Demogorgon.
What? She's not a Demogorgon. I know that.
We don't know. I'm going to talk about that later on one of my items here. All right, my number 3, I have a little thing here today. You know the song, right?
X-Files.
X-Files.
Illuminati.
The reason I'm playing this is because I believe Hopper is now a Mulder-type character. Mulder is the lead character from the X-Files, like the guy that the show is mostly about.
Okay.
And he is he works for the government. He works for, I believe, the FBI and some weird group called the X-Files group. And he goes in and investigates crazy stuff that no one else believes is true. And he does it because he's on a personal mission to find his sister. So I'm not going to get into all this backstory, but I think Hopper is in a similar situation now. He made some super secret deal with the government when they agreed to let him go after Will Byers. Remember, they captured him and Joyce, and he made some type of agreement with them where they said, "Okay, yeah, go get Will." Why would they do that? Because he was giving them something in return, right? And you see Hopper at the end of episode 8. He gets into that car with like those creepy government-looking guys. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Jet, you look like you're not paying attention. Are you confused by this?
No, I'm not. It's just X-Files is so creepy.
You look like a cow staring at a new
But you know
baby.
what I'm talking about. He gets in the car with those creepy-looking government guys.
Yeah.
So I think he's made that agreement and he's working for the government now.
I think he hates it.
But I think he's doing it because he's on a personal mission. He's got personal motivation, and it's to find Elle.
Well, yeah.
So kind of like Mulder. He worked for the government, but he hated the government. He hated the people he was working for because they were trying to hide the truth. He was trying to find the truth, find his sister. I think Hopper's in the same role as Mulder. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Cade, what do you got for your...
Number 2.
I have a feeling either Mike, Dustin, or Lucas is going to die. One of them is going to die.
One of the kids is going to die.
I feel like one of the kids are going to die.
Did I say... Oh, I didn't say my number 3.
Okay, well, after we talk about Cade's number 2, we'll go back and you can do number 3 and number 2.
Okay.
So Cade's number 2 is that either Mike, Dustin, or Lucas was going to die.
All right. I'll talk about that later. And Will's dead is my number 2.
So your number 2 is kind of like Cade's,
Yeah,
but you're
but-
saying the other one that he didn't say out of the 4 boys.
I think Will is going to die because the things that's been happening to him.
Yeah.
Spit out the slug and...
That was my number 1. My number 1, it was that Will's going to be a Demogorgon.
Okay, I have that as
I
kind
never
of
said that.
mine. That's related to my number 2. So let's just talk about that now, and then Jet, you can go back into your number 3. Okay. So
Okay.
Cade, you think one of the other 3 boys is going to die. Jet, you think Will is going to die. I said that they didn't know. The show creators didn't know what to do with Will Byers. So season 1 ended on a cliffhanger, right? He spits out that Demogorgon slug in the bathroom. He seemed to be like mostly unaffected by it. Like he went out and he didn't say anything to anybody. He just kind of like went on with his life.
He was kind of in the Upside Down.
Yeah, you're right. He was. It like flickered. The lights flickered. He went into the Upside Down for a split second.
Oh, yeah.
So
And he was fine by it, like, okay.
Well,
but maybe he, like, turned, and he's, like, against other people, and he's, like, tricking them so he can kill one of them. Or
my opinion is that they didn't know what to do with him at the end of season 1. And season 2 hadn't been greenlit yet because it hadn't been released. It wasn't greenlit until it was released and was super popular. So what they did was they ended season 1 on a cliffhanger, just so it was open-ended, right? And it kind of like left some mystery and left the audience guessing on what Will's fate really is. And they were fine leaving it at that. Now we have a season 2, and it works out kind of nicely because now we have a storyline going into season 2. What's going on with Will? Is he turning into a Demogorgon? Is he incubating baby Demogorgons like the face suckers do in Alien?
Also, I have a question. So, like, you know, like, when Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan, like, beat up that Demogorgon, goes back to the underworld.
Yeah.
And Joyce is walking in the underworld, and they see the lights flicker back on. Mm-hmm. And he said it's Mom, and he says, I don't think it's the monster. Do you think it's when the lights flickers when anybody's is in the upside down walking?
Maybe.
Like, I don't know.
There's obviously some connection between electricity and then being in between the 2 dimensions. I don't know what that connection is, but the phone gets zapped and the lights flicker and
weird stuff.
What it might be is when there's some type of break between the 2. when the two dimensions are colliding. In other words, the electricity doesn't work, or it works too much, or something. I don't know, but yeah, what happens to Will? I think it's more likely that he's incubating baby Demogorgons like the facesuckers and Alien, because that seems to be what happened to Barb and what was happening to him before they rescued him.
If something pops out of his stomach like Alien, is it going to show like a baby Demogorgon? I've always wanted to see one of those.
I don't know.
Kind of hope.
But the fact that he can kind of tap into the upside down, like when he spit out that slug,
yeah,
he kind of
saw it.
Maybe it indicates he's changed in some way. Like maybe he's becoming a bit,
it.
or maybe it's the baby Demogorgons that are inside him that are tapping into the upside down when that happens.
I kind of thought that part you was just imagining it.
I don't think so.
It looked like it.
He didn't. Do you think he imagined spitting the slug out too?
No,
it was all related. It happened at the same time.
He spit it out, and I think he imagined the thing.
I don't think so. I think he was in the upside down for a second. The Demogorgon can go in between them, right? He can grab people and take them to the upside down.
Yeah.
He can come crashing through your wall, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, they don't know what to do with Will Byers, or they didn't know what to do, and now it's a new storyline for season 2. That's my theory. So, Jet, what's your number 3? We'll go back to your number 3.
My number 3 is that the whole group is going to wind up in the upside down. They go to this place, and it's just going to be filled with eggs.
Of like hundreds of Demogorgons?
Yeah, like eggs. Because, well, not filled. I think I'm going to see like a few eggs.
Kind of like the alien scene.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And like, I think some creature is going to be in the eggs, and it came out like the aliens.
Maybe.
Like Alien vs. Predator, there's a bunch of eggs.
Yeah.
And like, it opens and face suckers come out.
So that kind of goes along with your theory that there's going to be lots of Demogorgons.
Yeah.
Or more Demogorgons, I should say. Okay.
So I did
Kate,
all my number 1.
Hold on. Before you get to your number 1.
I already did my number 1.
Well, your number 2 was that somebody was going to die. If you had to pick one of the 3 as a prediction, who would you pick?
Lucas.
Lucas? The black one?
Yeah.
Okay. For a second, I drew a blank on which one was which. Okay.
Oh.
How do you think he dies?
Huh?
How do you think he dies?
Well.
Ah, okay.
Okay. If I was going to have to choose one of the 3.
Or maybe like maybe it's like Will's like changing like and like some parts of him are becoming like Demogorgon type, and out of his control he kills Lucas, and then he goes back to the Demogorgon, and he feels bad and kills Lucas.
Here,
he runs away and gets scared, and he hides in the upside down, and then they find him and they try to kill him, but then he's trying to like show them like, hey, it's not me, it's really just hey, it's not I'm not the Demogorgon, it's just Will, and then
okay, how 2 things.
Okay.
I think that's not going to happen. And the second thing, like I feel like when people think about Stranger Things, the first people that pop in their mind is probably the kids. So
Yeah,
I don't think
sure.
the Duffer brothers are going to make one of the kids die. I feel like they're like the main characters of Stranger Things.
Yeah, but would the show survive if there was one less of them? I mean, we didn't have Will for almost all of season 1.
Yeah, but I feel like he was. When you think about the kids, he's not like the first one you think of.
Because he was gone all of season 1.
Yeah.
So if we lost another one,
I don't think they're gonna lose another one.
Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so Cade, we already did your number 1.
My number 1 was kind of.
I have an honorable mentions.
We haven't gotten there yet. What was your number 1 that we already did? That
Will's Demogorgon.
My number 1's we kind of talk about is Elle coming back.
Elle coming back. Okay. My number 1 is related to Elle also, but I call this the Demogorigins because I combine Demogorgon and Origins. I think Elle is creating the Demogorgon with the dark side of her subconscious. So think about it. Elle can do things with her mind, right? Okay. So chronologically, which means like in the timeline of the story, not when we see it, but what actually happens first. The first time we see a Demogorgon is where? It's not in our world.
It's with Will.
No, that's the first time you see it in the show. But chronologically, in the timeline, the first time you see it is when Elle sees it, when she's in the sensory deprivation tank.
The water and stuff.
Yeah, and she goes in that like black area,
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I call it the in-between dimension, I guess, in between ours and the upside down. She's in there, and that's the first time chronologically you see the Demogorgon. It's not in the upside down, and it's not in our world. It's in Elle's world, and that in-between when she's in the sensory deprivation tank. So maybe she's actually creating it subconsciously, not meaning to, not intending to, but because out of trauma that she's experienced as a child growing up that way, her mind is subconsciously creating the Demogorgon.
I don't think so, because you know how the gate got open?
She screamed.
But before it was closed, I think before that, I think it got open. Like, before, and the Demogorgon probably existed before that.
Maybe, but there's no evidence of that. I'm just looking at the evidence that we have. You don't see the Demogorgon. The first time you see it is in that in-between world. And when she screams and opens the gate, then it's allowed to come into our world, right? So I think that maybe she has subconsciously created it. Now, I have a little bit more evidence. Here's a quote from the show.
I'm the monster.
Cade missed it because he always takes his headphones off. It's when Elle says, "I'm the monster." At the time she said it, we took it to mean that she felt guilty for opening the gate, right? Because she's talking to Mike about how she opened the gate and she's the monster. But maybe she was being more literal than that. Maybe she is the monster. Maybe she created the Demogorgon accidentally out of her subconscious.
I don't think so, because at first she couldn't communicate to Will, so if she didn't have enough power for that, I don't think she had enough power to create this creature.
At first she did communicate to Will. She found him on the radio.
Yeah, but then she couldn't do it anymore.
Well, he was kind of almost dead at that point, right? And so she needed a more powerful tool or piece of equipment to be able to do it. That's why they went and got that other radio. What did they call it?
I'm talking about the bathtub.
Oh, she found Will no problem in the bathtub.
No, before the bathtub, she couldn't do it. Then she had to do it.
Because he's almost dead.
Okay.
He was almost dead. She couldn't find him.
So you think Elle probably created the Demogorgon?
I think so.
I don't think so.
It makes sense.
All right, well, that's my number one, Demo Origins. All right, let's move on to...
Honorable mention.
What do you got, Cade?
Nothing.
I have one honorable mention, and it kind of like adds on to my number one, is that if Will fights with, let's say there's another Demogorgon or more, and Will is with the boys, that I think Will know like the weaknesses, I guess, to the Demogorgon, since he was like, with the one trapped him, the thing, maybe he knows the weaknesses and how to defeat them without using Elle, because Elle's gone right now. So maybe they'll have to defeat a Demogorgon by themselves. And Will know like the weak spots are
He'll be the
critical.
key to defeating it.
The key to defeating him
Elle.
without having Elle's powers to help them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I think
Is that a good
Elle's
one?
alive. Because I just figured, I kind of realized it, but now I really realized it. When Will, like, just some way he had to get water or food down in the upside down. Because he survived all of that. And you have to survive with food and water,
Well, how long do you think he was there?
Like Joyce, about a week. Joyce said...
yeah, so you can survive without food for a week. Now, water you can't.
Like 3 days.
But maybe he found water there. Or maybe the rules are different in the upside down.
And Hopper...
Maybe it's like a coma.
And Hopper probably figured that out. And so he probably gave Elle Eggos.
Yeah.
Like, what else would she put?
I don't think Cade meant to imply with that Elle is dead. He was saying that they have to fight a Demogorgon without her because they don't know where she is.
What if she's like so weak right now that
or she's just missing?
Gone. Like right now, as of right now, she's rebuilding.
Or maybe she went into the between dimension, whatever it's called.
Maybe she created the upside down.
Maybe she is the upside down.
No, I don't think she created that. That's impossible.
All right, my honorable mention I had...
See, we had Star Wars. We just had Star Wars.
Yeah.
We did, you're right. I have 5 honorable mentions, but I'll get through them quickly. I think we're going to see Barb again in some way. Now, she's definitely dead, but maybe we see her body again when they're in the upside down, or somehow the body is back in action due to Demogorgon face sucker things, and Nancy will have to reconcile her guilt for what happened with Barb. I think that's going to happen. Now, related to that, maybe that guilt creates a divide between Nancy and Steve, because it was kind of her being obsessed with Steve that led to Barb dying, essentially. And she ends up back with Jonathan because of she can't face what happened with with Barb when she's with Steve. Now, and she did look kind of distant in that last scene in the ugly sweater fest with Steve at the very end. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Number 3, honorable mention, Dr. Brenner's not dead, which we already kind of talked about, so I'll move on. Number 2, Elle isn't the same girl she was in season 1. If she is the Demogorgon, she'll fully realize it. If she's not the Demogorgon, something about her disappearance with a Demogorgon will change her. And number 1, if Elle doesn't change, she'll end up with a mother by the end of season 2. But I don't think it will be Terry Ives, her birth mother, though we will see her again. But I think it'll be Joyce, who has been the only one to ever show Elle any type of maternal affection in her life.
Yeah. She was like talking to her when they're getting the bathtub thing ready.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to
the worst.
Okay, what do you got?
I interpreted the worst as like a prediction that might happen, but it'll be terrible if it does happen.
I think that's how Jet did also.
Mine is... okay, go first.
Well, mine is that it's going to end at season 2, and it's all going to be happy.
Okay, that is a good worst prediction.
I don't want it to. I want to leave it on a mystery, and if the show ends there and they don't continue it more, I want to leave it on a mystery.
Honestly, yeah, if that happens, I would rather them have ended it on the end of season 1, where it was mysterious, like what's going on with Will, where is Elle, right? Than to just kind of tie it up in a nice, neat little bow and say, the end,
okay,
everybody lives happily ever
happy,
after.
Will's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
All right, what do you got for your worst, Jet?
We kind of already talked about it. It's a kid dies. And if I had to pick out the 3, it would probably be Lucas who dies. And of all the 3 who I'd want to die, I wouldn't want any, but probably Lucas to die.
Well, he's the most... he's maybe
the most
annoying.
Realistic one.
He is, like, if this was happening in real life, there'd probably be a lot of people acting like Lucas. But when you're watching the show, like, how can you not love Dustin, who's just lovable, and how can you not love Mike, who's doing everything he can to save Will, and believe in Elle, and we believe in Elle because we see her, and Lucas is like the cynic, he's doubting Elle.
Yeah, but sometimes he has a heart when you like came back and warned them.
No, he does have a heart, but when you're comparing the 3 kid characters, he is the one that plays like the role that gets on people's nerves the most, because it's like, dude, just believe them, right?
Yeah.
All right, my worst, I was kind of thinking like you guys, what would be really bad? But instead, what I'd done was I had written down like 15 predictions or theories, and this one I did have as my number 5 initially, because it's a really crappy prediction, but I was like, well, I'll just put it on my number 5 and get it out of the way, and then I can talk about my good ones. Then I was left with like 10 that I still wanted to have on my list, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to make this one my worst, because you know what, it's my worst prediction. It's just a crappy prediction. And it's that season 2 is going to kick ass. That's it.
Wait, like, what do you mean?
It's going to be awesome.
Do you think, when it's prediction, do you think it's going to be so awesome, even better than 1?
I didn't say that. I was afraid it wouldn't live up to season 1, and that might still be true, but it's still going to be amazing, I think. And I think it'll still be my favorite show after season 2 is done.
I think I'm going to love it.
Hope was amazing. I just don't want Empire Strikes Back to bring it down when it was coming out. It comes out as, whoa, wow.
So do you kind of have that same hope for Ep 8?
Yes.
Which we don't have a title for yet.
I think, what's it called?
We found Luke! Exclamation
I
point.
think I'm gonna love season 2 Stranger Things, but it's still gonna be my number 2 favorite show.
I predict that this will be Jet's favorite show in 2 weeks.
No, my favorite show is The
Walking Dead as of today, but yesterday it was different. You change your mind all the time. You want to go back and revise our 5-to-1s all the time.
Well,
why wouldn't this one change?
It's not going to change. I'll say every episode, hey, my show hasn't changed. I'll say
I don't want it. I don't want you to, because then you're just doing it to prove a point.
Coral!
Okay.
All right, I think that's it, unless you guys have anything else to add. All right.
Okay. I have a confession to make. A confession.
Are you pregnant?
To make. I forgot to do the next episode.
You want me to come up with one?
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, but he has to say it.
No, honestly, I remembered it, but I didn't know.
Okay, I'll do one. All right. Well, thank you to everybody for taking the time to listen. Please check out our Facebook. You literally went like this.
You went
You
back.
got close to the mic to cough. All right. We're going to take a podcasting 101 class after this. Thank you to everybody for taking the time to listen. Please check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/5to1podcast or tweet us at 5to1podcast. Give us your opinions there. Let us know why you agree or why you think we're idiots. What would be even better is to call our phone number and leave us a voicemail so you can be here with us. 469-607-5to1.
5555.
That's 469-607-5861. Please join us next time on 5to1 for our discussion on best vacation destinations.
We were originally going to do that, but then we did the time travel one.
Love you.
These rappers won't know what to do, 'cause all I did was act me like a Looney Tune. And I'll keep it all of me until there's nothing left. I swear the summer will be summer, kid.